how much is your time worth? Is 10 minutes worth $10? Is a day worth 1,000? Is a month worth 5,000? As a 3D artist, we are constantly asking ourselves this very question. And in this video, I plan to give myself an answer. I'm giving myself 10 minutes to create a piece of concept art using a plugin I bought 3 years ago for about $200. This plugin is called Geo-Scatter. It allows me to scatter things like foliage, trees, rocks, or other environmental assets around my scene extremely quickly. And it's always been super fast. But exactly how fast? Will I be able to make something that looks good in 10 minutes? Or was this a crazy idea from the start? Either way, I guess I'm going to find out because the clock starts now. All right, we are recording and we're in a blank scene in Blender. Let's go ahead and show you what I think my time is worth. I'm going to try and make something in under 10 minutes. It's 1:30 right now, so my goal is to be done by 1:40. Let's go ahead and let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a plane. Scale it by 5, scale it by X by 2. I'm going to add a camera. And I'm going to zero these out. Well, actually, I'm going to set this to 90, and this to 90, and this to 0. And we're going to bring it back a bit, just so we're looking down the long side of this plane here. Let's go ahead and displace our plane. Let's add a subsurface. Simple, set it to 5. And then a displace. New, go in here and go ahead and create some clouds. Obviously that's too much. We need to apply our scale. We need to set this to 2. I'm going to go ahead and bring the strength down to something like 0.2. So we're just getting a little bit of variation here. I'm going to shade smooth it. And then I'm going to apply both of these modifiers. Let's go ahead and look through our camera. I want this to be a square for this one. So I'm going to set these both to 1080. And clearly our camera is in the ground, so let's bring it up a bit. 0.2, something like this. 105 is usually the angle I go for, so I'm basically always looking up from the position of my camera, but I think this is a little too much, but let's go ahead and bring the camera back. Maybe we need to bring it down. Yeah, I think we need to bring this down, so maybe like 102. That's cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create our scatter system. The first thing I want to do before that, though, is I want to bring the edges of this up so we're not seeing a weird edge. So I'm going to select this edge here, which is basically 2 verts out. Select this edge, which is 2 verts out as well. And then this edge. And we're going to deselect this over here, deselect these like this. Alrighty. And then we're going to go into proportional editing mode, G and Z, and then we can bring this up just where we're getting like this like hill. So we're kind of in like a lowered portion of the ground, just so when we look at it, you know, we're not seeing the fact that this ends so soon. If we wanted to, we could even just grab the edges like this. And from here, extrude the edges with a scale, something like this. I don't know. We could do that, and I think that's fine. So I'm going to apply that scale, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to jump into Geo-Scatter. Select our object. I'm going to go ahead and go to Biome Scatter, Open Biomes. We're going to use the grass that's going to surround this thing first, and that's going to be a forest floor. I really like Forest 5, so that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to set this to paint mask and an image. I'm going to go ahead and select Forest 5. It's going to fill everything up. And that's going to punch me into the texture paint mode. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint in like a clearing here. It'll go up to something like this. Let's see. Yeah, something like this. I think we're going to have to move our camera up a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to invert this image. So we're getting something like that, which is exactly what I want. Go out of object mode for a second here. Yeah, I think we're way too low. The camera's way too low. Let's go ahead and bring this up a bit. And then if we go ahead and I set our focal length to something non-standard, like 32, there we go. That is what I was looking for, something like that. And then I think we can even bring our camera back more. So we're right on the edge. If you want to really see what you're going to see in the camera, you can always just turn your passport all the way on. And you can turn on the composition guides to see the third. So we're right on the edge of the third here. So if I bring this down by 1 more degree or 2 more degrees, we're really lined up with that third now. So I'm going to push the camera in just so we're not seeing any of the ground. And let's go ahead and let's fill the center area here with some grass. We'll go ahead and grab our biomes again. Grass. And then I think I'm going to use grass 6 here. I like that. So instead of paint mask, I want to assign it a mask, and I want that mask to be image mask. Go ahead and add grass. Now it's filling up everything, but I want it to fill up the invert, so I'm going to go over to my Geo-Scatter add-on. Go ahead and invert this. And so now we just have our grass in the area where our forest is. So we'll have something that looks like this, which looks pretty cool. I think in general I'm going to shrink this though. So scale boost, we'll set this to like 0.75, just so it's a little bit smaller. And we're going to need to increase the amount of grass to cover the holes. So this is 106. I'll set this to 206. And that basically covers it. I think these rocks are a little big too, but we're racing against the clock here. So let's go ahead and finally add our forest like trees. And I think I want to add like the big pine trees, like spruce trees. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I don't want to set the objects as bounds. I want to see the trees, just so I can get a better feel for it. So we get something that looks like this now. And I think that's pretty good. I feel like there could be more trees, though. Let's up the distribution to like 0.1. That's better. I think just to save myself the headache, quickly add a plane, scale it, push it back a bit, and then I'm going to inset it, delete the faces, delete this face as well, scale it down, apply scale, and then I'm going to change my scatter object to this thing. And we'll throw some other trees. Of course, pine is sure. Okay. And clearly the density is not right. So let's go ahead and grab this, and we're going to increase the density to 2. There we go. And this, we can just bring this down, and now all of a sudden, we're covering up the background that you were seeing through. So it's 136. Let's go ahead and add our hero object and set the lighting up. So first and foremost, I don't really want any skylighting. My default scenes come in with a default sky texture set on it. I want it to be nighttime because everyone knows concept art is just one center light object. So let's go ahead and add that. Let's add a plane. I'm going to bring it up, put it in the center of our clearing here, rotate it on the Y by 90. I'm going to assign a new material to it. I don't know why this thing is open like this. Let's assign a new material to it. We're going to use this texture we made with Midjourney, triangle. And I'm going to plug the color into the color of the emission. The strength is going to go from a color ramp, which I'm going to have to crunch up, into a math multiply. And that will go into my strength. And this will also go into my alpha. So let's go ahead and look at this real quick. If I focus on this guy, clearly we're going to multiply this by a lot, so let's go 50 for now. It's pretty good. Yeah, that looks about right, but let's actually see what we're doing, and we can see that there's like this glow on it, so we're going to crunch this down. We're going to crunch this up a little bit, so it's just a little bit more closer to the white. So now we're getting somewhere like that. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this on the X by 90 because I want to make like an hourglass shape. I think that was my main idea behind doing this. I'm going to duplicate it, rotate it on the X by 180. And because our transparent samples aren't strong enough, we're not seeing anything. If I set this to 50, this to 50, still being a little bit weird. Let's just move it off center by the X by just a tiny bit. Let me get something like that. I think it's a little too far away. Or maybe it's too small. So I'm going to scale it up. I'm going to bring it up like this. Because I want it to take up a solid like chunk of the screen here. So maybe something like this. And my big issue with this is this tree on the left. It's 138. We really need to speed up. So I just need to paint this tree out. I'm going to go into texture paint mode. I need to make sure I have the object selected. We'll go to plane 1. Texture paint. Please, please, please. There we go. If we go back to object node now, we look at this again. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. That's something pretty interesting. Let's quickly add a volume and fix some normal issues. So I'm going to bring this closer again. So it's like that. This one feels scaled up. Let's go ahead and add a cube. Scale it by 5, bring it up, bring it closer to us. Oh, bring it closer to us. Like that. New object. Volume scatter. Density is 0.01. Anisotropy 0.6. Goes into the volume. Make sure our volume samples are also set to 50. Why not? And then I'm going to just have to render because it's 140. So let's go ahead and render and see what this looks like. I'm going to turn off denoise. I'm going to leave everything as is. I'll turn off use tiling as well because we don't really need it. Let's go ahead and render this out and see what it looks like. Alrighty, so our render has completed and it looks like this. Looks pretty cool. I really wish there was a tree over here on this right side where there's a bunch of dead space, but hey, we made our 10-minute mark and that was our goal. So after that, I went ahead and did a little bit of post-processing on our image and we ended up with something like this. And this is where we get to come back to our original question. How much is your time worth? For me, the cost of Geo-Scatter and forestation has absolutely been worth the time. It has allowed me to create quick, random pieces of concept art like this in times that I think, 5 or 10 years ago, we would have thought were impossible. It took us 10 minutes to throw this cool scene together. Is it the best scene in the world? No. Is it good enough? I think so. There are obviously small things I would have loved to change. My ground texture just being white is one of the big ones, the empty space on the right side, but those are the kind of things that actually bring your scene to life. This, at the end of the day, it looks cool, but it doesn't really have character. And that is the thing that I want to spend my time on when I create renders. I don't want to spend my time throwing together the perfect particle system and spend, all of my mental energy creating something like that. And then when I get to actually building out my world and building out a story, I'm mentally exhausted. So I find systems like this to be absolutely worth my time. But that's just how I feel about it. I still feel like this was a super fun challenge, being able to throw something together like this in 10 minutes. And if you guys thought so too, or if it inspired you to try something like this, go ahead and like the video, subscribe. We'll be doing more stuff that is a little bit more complex than a 10-minute challenge very soon in the future. I already have an idea for my next video. So as always, I've been Alex from Level Up Plus VFX. Get subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.